Of the more than 73,000 known species of trees around the world, the vast majority are completely safe, dedicating their lives to producing oxygen, providing a home to countless animals, and developing fruit and foliage that supports ecosystems. There are a small number, though, that can be fatal, and if you ever see one, you'd best be advised to keep your distance. From exploding seeds to stinging branches and potent toxins. It's time to investigate the 15 most dangerous trees that you absolutely shouldn't touch. Number 15. Gympie Gympie. Native to Australia and the islands to the north, the Gympie Gympie, which is known as the stinging tree, is a notorious plant in the region that's avoided by anyone who can recognize it. Related to other nettles, it grows in rainforest regions and can reach a height of up to 33 feet, or about 10 meters, in perfect conditions. It grows large, heart-shaped leaves that can be up to 9 inches or 22 centimeters long, and also produce small purple fruits. The reason this tree is so problematic, though, is that, like other nettles, it's covered in brittle hair-like structures that are sharp and hollow like a needle, and if you touch them, it will easily pierce the skin. The hairs contain a neurotoxin that researchers have found to be similar to ones produced by spiders and cone snails, and once this is injected into the skin, it creates an intensely powerful sensation. This continues to worsen over the following hours and is reportedly so severe that it'll prevent you from being able to sleep. Other symptoms such as rashes and swollen lymph nodes are common too, but there's something about the Gympie Gympie that's particularly cruel. The part of the hair that detaches beneath the surface of your skin won't release all the toxin at once and will keep doing so for months or even years every time the site is touched or triggered in some way. With no known treatment after being stung, the best option is to just stay clear to begin with. Number 14. Black Locust Tree. Originally native to small regions in North America, but now grown around the world, the black locust tree is a species of hardwood deciduous tree that will usually grow to around 100 feet or 30 meters tall. It's recognizable for its blue-green leaves, white flowers, and unusually straight trunks, and it's their appearance that have made them popular ornamental trees around the world. They are, however, regarded by many as weed trees, and there are attempts in some places to limit their spread because of their invasive nature. To make things worse, the bark, leaves, and wood of the trees contain high levels of toxins that can be dangerous to humans and livestock. The main way the toxins enter the body is if they're eaten, but sometimes skin contact can be enough to absorb a medically significant amount. The full effects on humans haven't been fully researched, but horses that accidentally graze on the trees have been seen to develop symptoms within an hour and suffer from weakness, depression, incontinence, and an irregular heartbeat. While a black lotus tree won't cause any effects lasting more than a few hours, it'll be an unpleasant experience for anyone unlucky enough to go through it. Number 13. Brugmansia. Brugmansia is the name given to 7 species of plants in the nightshade family, ones that can grow into large shrubs or trees. Their large, fragrant flowers are the main reason these trees are cultivated all around the world and have led to the plants being more commonly known as angel's trumpet. They're able to reach heights of up to 36 feet, or about 11 meters, and surprisingly all 7 species are classified as extinct and are only known in cultivation or ones that have escaped cultivation. Plants like this are native to regions across South America, but whether these ones have existed in the wild or whether they were the result of human breeding isn't certain. Despite looking fantastic in any garden, extreme caution must be taken because they're easily one of the most toxic of all ornamental plants. All parts of the Brugmansia can be poisonous, but the seeds and leaves have particularly high levels of the toxins that are formed within the plant, and all it takes is a small amount to enter your body and things will take a nasty turn. Symptoms such as headaches, constipation, hallucinations, tremors, and many more are common and can eventually lead to death. There are countless stories of people acting in unusual ways after ingestion of this plant, including an event in 1994 when 112 people were admitted to a hospital in Florida after eating some, which led to the municipality banning ownership of the plant. Number 12. Bunya Pine. Also known as the false monkey puzzle tree, the Bunya pine is an evergreen coniferous tree that's native to regions around Queensland in Australia. It's an enormous species, with the largest known specimen measuring 169 feet or 51.5 meters tall, and the fossil record shows they've been around since the time of the dinosaurs. As with other pines, bunyas don't develop any toxins that you need to be wary of, but they do pose a very real danger that means you need to be careful if you're ever near one. With a tree that grows to such a size, it's perhaps no surprise to learn that the cones are enormous. often growing to around 14 inches or 35 centimeters in diameter and weighing as much as 40 pounds or 18 kilograms. They can cause serious damage if they fall from high up in the tree onto something at ground level. To reduce the chances of human injury, trees within residential districts have their cones removed by council workers each year, but those growing in forested areas are left to develop naturally. If you happen to bump into one of these trees at the wrong time, a cone landing on you could easily break a bone or something worse. Number 11. Dragon Blood Tree. Found in the Socotra archipelago that's owned by Yemen, the dragon blood tree is one of the most unusual trees on the planet. Almost looking like an umbrella because of the upturned crown, they produce small fleshy berries each year and rely on birds to eat these and spread those seeds. What's unusual about this tree, though, and the reason for its name, is that it produces an extremely dark red sap and resin that looks just like the color of blood. This fluid has been of interest to scientists and medical practitioners for centuries because of the unique cocktails of chemicals that it contains. Acting as a stimulant, it can be extremely dangerous to people with medical conditions or who are pregnant because of various other chemicals it contains. And anyone falling into those categories must stay clear of the resin because of the risk of serious complications. It's the ability of the resin to be good or bad that led it to being associated with dragons, and also highly sought after by those involved in ritual magic and alchemy. Number 10. Milky Mangrove. Found in tropical mangrove swamps across Asia and Southeast Asia between India and Australia, the milky mangrove may look harmless at first, but when you hear its other names like the blinding tree or river poison tree, it becomes clear that this species must be treated with extreme caution. It's a relatively small tree, growing to a maximum of around 50 feet or 15 meters, and it's normally found at higher elevations in the mangrove swamps where the salinity levels are lower. Male trees have drooping tassel flowers, while the female flowers are shorter and spiked, but both have a highly effective chemical defense that will deter all species other than some specific beetles that have developed an immunity. They produce a milky, sticky substance that's laden with diterpenoids, triterpenoids, and flavonoids, and it's poisonous and extremely irritating. Just getting it on your skin will soon cause large blisters, and if you get any in your eye, you'll experience temporary blindness. Even the smoke caused by burning the wood contains enough of the chemicals and can affect the eyes too, which makes the milky mangrove completely useless from a human perspective, something the earliest explorers found out the hard way. Number 9. Cerbera odollam. The Cerbera odollam, which is known as the pong pong tree, is a species that's native to India and other salty swamps and marshy areas around southern Asia. It grows strong trunks with branches that twist and whirl around them and become covered in a milky white substance, but it's the fruit that you need to be wary of. Similar in look and size to a small mango and green in color, they contain a white kernel that changes color to violet, gray, and then black once they're exposed to air. This is the first sign that these kernels contain complex chemicals, but if you were to ingest even a small piece or even graze yourself against one, then you'd be in real trouble. That's because these kernels contain cerebin and cardiac glycoside toxin, which can cause burning in the mouth, vomiting, headaches, an irregular heartbeat, and a coma or even death. Just one kernel of the fruit contains enough for a fatal dose, and the chemicals are so difficult to detect following death that this tree is believed to be one of the leading methods of murder and suicide in the regions where it's found. In the decade between 1989 and 1999, for example, it's believed that there were 500 cases of fatal Cerbera poisoning in just one state in southwest India. Number 8. Common yew tree. Found natively across Europe, northern Africa, and southwest Asia, the common yew tree is a popular ornamental plant in those regions, but also a surprisingly dangerous one. They are medium-sized evergreen trees that typically grow to a height of around 65 feet or about 20 meters, and they develop a thin, scaly bark and flat, dark green leaves. The seed cones begin by forming a bright berry-like structure around the seed, which tempts birds and other animals to eat it and leave the seeds elsewhere. This flesh is one part of the tree that's actually safe to eat because virtually every other part contains various different toxic compounds. In fact, at least 10 different alkaloids have been found, with taxine alkaloids and cardiotoxic chemical compounds being the most dangerous. If any seeds or leaves are eaten, then immediate medical attention is required, and it's even possible to ingest a significant dose by simply breathing in the air near one of these trees. Lethal doses typically cause death by a cardiac event, but even if there's not enough of the toxins in your system to kill you, it'll still be a deeply unpleasant experience before your body is able to filter them out. Number 7. Sandbox Tree. The sandbox tree, which you may also know as the possum wood or the jabillo, is a species of evergreen tree that's native to tropical regions across North and South America. Known to grow up to 200 feet or about 60 meters tall and covered in a smooth brown bark with pointed spines. It's also called the monkey no-climb tree because most arboreal animals struggle to find a safe way to climb up it. These spikes aren't the only things to be cautious of with this tree though, as it also has 2 other defense mechanisms that make it extremely dangerous. The first is its sap, which is caustic and was traditionally used to poison fish or arrows to injure dangerous predators or enemies. It would take a huge amount to actually kill someone, but just a small dose would cause serious damage to the throat and incapacitate the victim for a long time. Most famously, though, is the sandbox tree's fruit. While most trees develop their fruit with the intention of an animal eating it and transporting the seeds elsewhere, this one takes all responsibilities on by itself. When ripe, the fruits drop and explode in a way that sends the seeds flying at speeds of up to 160 miles an hour. They'll typically travel a distance of up to 150 feet or 45 meters from the tree, which is plenty of distance to establish a new tree, but can be painful and potentially dangerous for anyone or anything that's in their path. Number 6. Wild Cherry Tree. Cherries are one of the most popular fruits that are grown and consumed around the world, but while the ripe fruits themselves may be safe and healthy to eat, the same can't be said for the rest of the plant. Wild cherry trees are native to regions across Europe, Northwest Africa, and Western Asia, and have been taken elsewhere in the world for cultivation. Growing to a height of up to 105 feet or about 32 meters, they have purplish-brown bark, beautiful white flowers, and of course, the delicious fruit. Every part of a wild cherry tree, including the fruit before it's ripened, contains levels of a group of compounds called cyanogenic glycosides. These, in this form, aren't necessarily dangerous, but if a tree detects that it's being attacked, whether that be by a gentle touch or a destructive act, it will remove sugar from the molecule, which will cause its structure to collapse and produce hydrogen cyanide. This, of course, is highly poisonous, and while you need to ingest a lot from a wild cherry tree to risk death, you'll still experience short-term symptoms like confusion, headaches, and diarrhea for hours or days after a small dose. Number 5. Strychnine Tree. Found natively in India and across Southeast Asia, the strychnine is a medium-sized deciduous tree that prefers to grow in open areas. They have short, thick trunks with dense white wood and are covered in a light brown bark. They can be identified by their oval-shaped leaves that grow to around 4 inches or about 10 centimeters, and their small funnel-shaped pale green flowers. If you do find one of these, then the name should tell you how dangerous they can be, because they are the natural source of a highly toxic alkaloid called strychnine. You may be familiar with it because it's used as a pesticide where it's particularly effective against birds, rodents, or other small vertebrates. But if it enters the body in a large enough quantity, it can be deadly for humans too. The main concentrations of strychnine are found in the seeds and blossoms, and simply breathing in the powder can lead to respiratory conditions, muscular convulsions, and asphyxia. Even if you stay away from the seeds, the bark of the tree also contains several other potentially dangerous compounds too, with all parts of the tree being used traditionally to add poison to arrows. Interestingly, these toxins don't affect all animals like you'd expect, and the fruits are often eaten by monkeys, such as the gray langur, and birds like hornbills, each of which have developed a tolerance for the poison. Number 4. Nerium oleander. Growing up to 20 feet or 6 meters tall, Nerium oleander is a small species of tree that's grown as an ornamental or landscaping plant around the world. Most often, it's grown as a shrub, and it's popular because of its white, pink, or red flowers that grow year-round, and their hardiness during drought and overwatering. If you touch one, though, you may notice that bitter taste is left on your hands, and this is a warning by the plant that you shouldn't eat anymore. Throughout the plant, there are levels of oleandrin and oleandrogenin, and these are both types of cardiac glycosides. In small doses, they have therapeutic effects, but larger amounts will soon begin to affect the gastrointestinal system, the heart, and the central nervous system. Nausea and vomiting will begin as your body tries to prevent itself from absorbing more of the compounds, and you may start experiencing severe abdominal pains and excess salivation. An irregular heartbeat may develop, the extremities turn cold and pale, and then drowsiness, tremors, seizures, coma, and then death can follow in rare circumstances. Simply making contact with the sap can cause rashes or inflammation of the eye, and the only real way to overcome poisoning from this tree is to induce vomiting and to support the body with temporary cardiac pacing until the toxin is flushed from the system. Number 3. The bottle tree. The bottle tree is an unusual plant species that's found in Namibia, Angola, and other countries in Central Africa, where it's developed an ability to grow in dry, semi-arid deserts and bushvelds, particularly on rocky hillsides, often reaching up to almost 20 feet or 6 meters tall and virtually branchless until the top. The few branches they do have are covered in large thorns and hairy leaves, and they develop white flowers in the spring. It's undoubtedly a strange-looking tree, and it's clear why people think they look like bottles. But this isn't the reason why it's long been an important species for people who live in their natural range. That's because not only are the thorns potentially dangerous, but the tree also produces a watery latex that contains concentrated levels of toxic alkaloids. This liquid was traditionally gathered to be used to poison the tips of arrows, with just a tiny drop in the eye being enough to cause permanent blindness. Brushing against the tree risks causing abrasions by the thorns, and an application of this latex on the body, which will almost certainly lead to the development of painful blisters and potentially introduce the toxin into your bloodstream and risk the chance of organ failure. Number 2. The manchineal tree. Of all the deadly trees around the world, the one that's generally regarded as the most dangerous is found in tropical regions throughout North and South America, and it's such a threat that you mustn't even stand beneath one when it's raining. It's a species that's called the manchineal tree, which originates from the Spanish words for little apple because of the small fruit that they bear. But you definitely wouldn't want to eat one of those. Growing up to 49 feet or 15 meters tall, the bark is reddish-gray in color and it has small greenish-yellow flowers. Every part of the tree, from its roots and trunk to the flowers, leaves, and fruit, contain high concentrations of powerful toxins, and its sap is a particular problem. The liquid is milky, and if it makes contact with your skin, it'll trigger an extreme reaction and painful blisters will form. During a storm, water running through the tree will pick up these toxins and drop them onto anything underneath it, which is pretty dangerous for any person or animal. Burning the tree will release chemicals that can irritate the eyes, and the fruit itself is theoretically toxic enough to cause death, but there are no confirmed cases of that ever happening. Said to have a sweet taste to begin with, this soon progresses to a peppery flavor, then a burning and tearing sensation in the throat, before triggering abdominal pains, internal bleeding, and even a bacterial superinfection. It's so dangerous that in many places each manchineal tree is surrounded by warning signs. During the Spanish invasion of the New World, it was the manchineal tree that the original people used to either apply poison to their arrows or to collect a bag of the leaves and drop it into a water source to poison all those who drank from it. Because of its ability to help repel the attackers, it took on a spiritual importance for those who relied on it, and is still seen in that way by many people to this day. Number 1. The Devil's Tree. While most trees seen as dangerous can be scientifically proven so, either because of their toxic sap or other aspects that could pose a threat, there are also those that you should avoid touching at all costs because of a spiritual reason. The Devil's Tree, which is in Bernards Township, New Jersey, is a great example of this and has long been associated with mysterious deaths and behaviors. It's a solitary oak tree that's several hundred years old and has a number of dead branches still holding on to give it a rather creepy appearance. There are numerous local legends about the tree, from the claim that it was once a KKK meeting place, to stories of murders taking place there, and even a Ford pickup truck that chases anyone who ventured too close. There's also the belief that anyone who disrespects the tree, something that can be done by simply touching it, will experience some sort of misfortune that's proportionate to what they had done. Getting too close to the tree may result in your car later breaking down. But if you were to disrespect it even further, for example by using it as a public restroom, the legend says the spirits that guard the site will inflict harm upon you, such as by causing a car crash. After hearing these stories, with some of them known to have definitely be based in truth, would you dare touch this tree? I know I wouldn't.
Watch our nature playlist for more top 15 videos about beautiful nature. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best nature videos.